It's the 2nd of March. I am in the Chester Countess Hospital and I am reading Steve Silberman's Neurotribes, and oh my goodness me, to say it's helping me through this is an understatement. My visit here has reminded me of one of the last cornerstones of autism rhetoric that we really need to challenge, maybe even prioritise above everything else, and that's the medical dialogue of autism. It drips down and drips feed into everything. It drips into other rhetorics because it's science, right? It's medical, it's fact. But the reality is, still Steve Silberman points out, is that the medical community for hundreds of years have treated autistic patients and disabled patients abhorrently. They've never really been held accountable for it. People think it doesn't happen today so much, but it does. Discrimination, gaslighting, ableism, autistic denial, neurotypical lying, bullying, and medical neglect are still perpetrated towards autistics today. The medical community have been the most responsible for loss of life towards autistics. They've institutionalised us, brutalised us, sectioned us, experimented on us, led to suicides because, hey, when we go to A&E and we're suicidal autistic, they'll call security on you if you have a meltdown. They make you feel like a criminal in your time of most need. And it is that medical community today that still control much of the narrative surrounding my and your autistic identity, your autistic personhood, your autistic behaviours and your personality. All medicalised, all documented, all abnormal, weird, strange, things that need to be cured, things that need to be figured out and eradicated because they're on the spectrum. And I have 10,000 followers almost on Agony Autie, and over half of them, I've never met a bunch of people who are so avoidant about going to the doctors or going to the hospital. But I've also never met a bunch of people who need to go because of their co-concurrent conditions. Epilepsy, hypermobility, cerebral palsy, MS, muscle atrophy. Yet we will not go for fear of stigmatisation, devaluation, bullying, trauma, sectioning. If we can change the medical community, their opinions towards us, the way they see us, the way they value us, that will be a huge turning point and a huge cornerstone in history for autistics, because believe me, we're in a top-down system and I'm trying to go bottom up. I'm trying to go from grassroots up, yeah? But we live in a top-down system and the medical community are still dripping information from the top down into our public and our media and our social narratives. The autistic community needs to prioritise dialogue with the medical community above all else. Because I really do think, in my opinion, I really do believe, I hope, if we can change the medical and science dialogue surrounding autism, then the rest will follow. It will. It will follow in public narratives, media, rhetorics, and social dialogue. Because they won't have the doctors telling us, the lab coats telling them they're weird, they're strange, they need to be cured, they're abnormal, they're a deficit, they actually cost us lots. That narrative won't be there. So this is a call to action. Contact your MPs. We want to petition that the government, National Health Service, NICE, the World Health Organization, and the Centre for Disease Control start really seeing us and start taking account for the loss of life of autistics underneath their care and start taking responsibility of the stigmatisation that they have caused us. Yes, there is a medical need for autistics, just as there's a medical need for neurotypicals, because over a third of the autistic community identify as disabled, and I am one of them. With Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, hypermobile, I'm one of them. But there is a reason the autistic community are so afflicted by health conditions, and it's because those health conditions have been the most neglected throughout history in terms of research, in terms of funding. Because hey, why would anyone want to fix people who are broken? Why would anyone try to fix conditions that inherently affect the autistic community above anybody else? With that, we will see a change. We will see the medical community prioritising our health needs, cerebral palsy, muscle atrophy, Ehlers-Danlos, hypermobility and epilepsy and suicide, the biggest killers in our community. It is avoidable. I need members of the medical community who are hearing this and who have been riled and angered by what I am saying. Rather than be angry at me, be angry at the fact that this is still perpetrated today, and be angry at the fact that this doesn't represent you. You may be a doctor and a nurse, and everything that I'm saying does not represent you. And that must be infuriating that the majority of the medical community have ruined that for you. What I'm saying is that we need you. If you are listening to this and you're a member of the medical community and you are upset and you want to help us change, we need you. The autistic community welcome you to be by our sides. We need doctors, we need nurses, we need support workers, community workers, social workers, security guards, policemen. It goes out all the way because there's so many people involved in a hospital sometimes. They all need to want discrimination against autistic people and people with disabilities to be eradicated. We don't need doctors who want to offer mothers a prenatal testing for autism in the womb. We don't want that. Much like the Down syndrome community have been obliterated by that, horrifically so. That is not the medical future that we want, but it's the medical future that we are currently being delivered. And it's terrifying. Autism Speaks fund this research. They are not an autism charity. They are a charity that wants to eradicate autism. And it's a charity that represents everybody who wants autistic people to be gone. I need the medical community to choose a side. Are you going to fight our neurological difference because it's different? Are you going to listen to the changing material, the changing artifacts, the anecdotal evidence from autistics themselves? Are you going to start listening and realizing and taking account, oh God, what have we done? What have we done to the autistic community? We've medicalized them just like we did with the gays. And we did it heavy. We did it to penalize their opinion, to lessen it, to shape it and mold it. I'm saying this right now, sat in a hospital ward. But when I talk about being autistic, they don't understand. There is no other word for what I'm experiencing. What I'm experiencing is discrimination. But I know there are wonderful, wonderful people out there. Wonderful medical professionals who go in and work awful long shifts, day after day for minimum amount, with little recognition, with little thanks. I know you exist. And I know that there will be autistics as nurses and as doctors themselves. So let's step up to the mantle. We can do this. If I don't believe that we can, if I believe that nothing will ever change, it's far too painful. It's far too painful to think that this is going to be like this forever for my autistic son, for your autistic children. We can't let them down. If you don't know what autism is, pick up Steve Silberman's Neurotribes and then read the medical criteria and see what we're up against. I would love to go back to Henry Cavendish's time and maybe just be called socially inept or awkward, but to be labelled abnormal and other and stigmatised underneath the autism label. This is what we've been told that we are, so we need to reclaim it. So you're goddamn right, I'm proud to be autistic. I'm proud in spite of what they've told me and what they've written about us. I'm proud because I don't want to be ashamed of being autistic, of being different from the majority of the population, because that's what it is to be autistic. That means society have chosen this is how we behave as humans, and the autistics aren't adhering because we can't. It doesn't make any sense to not flop our hands. It doesn't make any sense to go off and to not go off and be curious and to learn. It doesn't make sense to me to enjoy Mail and Chelsea and football and shopping and fake conversation about fake feelings with fake friends. That doesn't bother me. I'd rather talk about how the solar system works or how we can help better social change or most vulnerable people with friends, like-minded people who want to create change. I don't know how else to be. I've never known how else to be. And I'm called abnormal for that. Steve Silberman's book lends us pride. It casts a light on our stigmatization and it shows us everything that we should be proud of. And it shows us everything that we should be making steps to reclaim. So when I say I'm proud to be autistic, it's because I'm proud. It's because I don't want to be ashamed